3,000 years ago, somewhere along the ancient shores of Greece, a story began spreading from village to village. A story about a man who crossed impossible seas. A man who fought monsters, escaped disasters, and challenged the anger of gods. A man who spent 10 years trying to return home. His name was Odysseus. For thousands of years, people have called his journey one of the greatest adventures ever told. But here is the mystery. What if the Odyssey was not only a fantasy? What if behind the monsters, gods, and impossible events, there was a real story hidden underneath? A story about ancient sailors who entered a world they barely understood, a world where the ocean was endless, maps were incomplete, and every island could hide danger. Because for the people of ancient Greece, the sea was not just a path to new lands. It was the edge of the unknown. And this is the story of the man who disappeared into that unknown world. More than 3,000 years ago, one of the greatest wars of the ancient world finally came to an end. For 10 long years, the Greek armies had fought against the city of Troy. Thousands of soldiers had died, heroes had fallen, and after years of bloodshed, the Greeks finally entered the legendary city. But their victory did not come from strength alone. It came from one man's intelligence. His name was Odysseus. Unlike warriors who relied on power and weapons, Odysseus was known for something different. His mind. He was the man who created the famous Trojan horse strategy. A wooden horse was built and left outside Troy's walls. The Trojans believed it was a gift. They brought it inside their city. But hidden inside were Greek soldiers waiting for the perfect moment. That night, Troy fell. The war was over. And after 10 years of fighting, the heroes of Greece finally prepared to return home. Among them was Odysseus. He believed his journey back to his kingdom of Ithaca would be simple. A few weeks at sea, maybe a few months at most. He had survived the greatest war of his age. What could possibly stop him now? But Odysseus was about to discover something. Winning a war was easy compared to surviving peace, because his greatest battle was not behind him. It was waiting across the sea. At first, the journey seemed peaceful. Odysseus and his men sailed across the Mediterranean, moving from island to island. But the ancient sea was unpredictable. A clear sky could become a violent storm within hours. A beautiful island could become a deadly trap. And one day, they reached a strange land covered with unusual plants. The people living there offered them a mysterious flower, a simple lotus. The locals ate it every day. And when some of Odysseus's men tasted it, something strange happened. They became calm. They forgot their worries. They forgot the war. They forgot the reason they were traveling. They no longer wanted to return home. They simply wanted to stay. Odysseus watched as his soldiers slowly lost themselves, and he realized something terrifying. The greatest danger was not always death. Sometimes the greatest danger was forgetting who you are. He ordered his men to drag everyone back to the ships. They left the island behind. But Odysseus did not know that this was only the beginning. The sea still had many secrets waiting for him. Days later, they discovered another island. From the outside, it looked like a paradise. Green fields, fresh water, large caves filled with sheep, the perfect place to rest. But inside one of the caves, they found something unusual. Huge piles of cheese, massive animal skins. Everything was much larger than anything humans normally used. The men believed they had discovered the home of a giant, but curiosity defeated caution. They decided to wait and see who owned the cave. As the sun disappeared, the ground suddenly began shaking. Boom, boom, boom. Something enormous was approaching. Then a creature entered, a giant with incredible strength. a creature with only one eye in the middle of its face, the Cyclops. Its name was Polyphemus. The giant looked at the tiny humans standing inside his home, and instead of welcoming them, he trapped them. He rolled a massive stone in front of the entrance. The Greeks were prisoners. No weapon could defeat him. No human strength could move the stone. And every night, the Cyclops chose several men and ate them. For Odysseus, this was the moment where intelligence mattered more than courage, because fighting the monster directly meant certain death. So he created a plan. One evening, Odysseus offered the Cyclops a gift, a powerful wine that would make him sleep. The giant drank and drank, until finally he became unconscious. Before losing control, the Cyclops asked Odysseus his name, and Odysseus answered, "My name is Nobody." Later that night, while the giant slept, Odysseus and his men heated a wooden spear until it became burning hot. Then they drove it into the Cyclops' only eye. The monster woke up screaming. The entire island shook. The Cyclops shouted for help. "My brothers, someone is attacking me!" The other giants outside heard his screams. They asked, "Who is attacking you?" And the Cyclops answered, "Nobody." The others laughed. "If nobody is attacking you, then it must be nothing." And they walked away. The trick worked. Odysseus had defeated a creature many times stronger than himself, but escaping was only half the challenge. The Greeks still had to leave the cave, and they did it in one of the most famous escapes in history. They tied themselves underneath the bellies of the Cyclops sheep. When morning came, the giant opened the cave entrance and touched every animal as it left. He wanted to make sure no human escaped, but he only felt the backs of the sheep. The Greeks had hidden underneath, and one by one, they walked free. They reached their ships, they escaped, they survived. But as the island disappeared behind them, Odysseus made a mistake that would change everything. From the safety of his ship, Odysseus looked back at the island. He had defeated the Cyclops. He had escaped certain death, and perhaps, after everything he had endured, he wanted the world to know who had won. So he shouted, "Cyclops, if anyone asks who defeated you, tell them it was Odysseus of Ithaca." His crew begged him to stop, but it was too late. The Cyclops finally knew his name. And there was one more thing Odysseus did not know. The Cyclops was the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. And when Poseidon heard that a human had blinded his son, his anger had no limits. From that moment on, the ocean itself became Odysseus's enemy. The man who had survived the greatest war of the ancient world was now fighting against the endless power of the sea, and his journey home was about to become something far greater than he ever imagined. Because ahead of him were islands that no map could explain, voices that could destroy sailors with a single song, and creatures waiting in the darkness between the waves. The real adventure of Odysseus had only just begun. And so, after escaping the island of the Cyclops, Odysseus continued sailing across a sea that seemed determined to keep him away from home. But the greatest danger was no longer just the monsters he encountered. It was the uncertainty. Every direction could lead to salvation or disaster. For ancient sailors, the ocean was a place where reality and imagination slowly became mixed together. A strange fog could become a magical island. A dangerous animal could become a terrifying creature from legend. And a natural disaster could feel like the anger of a god. Odysseus was about to enter the part of his journey where the line between myth and reality became almost impossible to separate. After many days at sea, Odysseus and his remaining crew reached the island of Aeolus, the ruler of the winds. According to the story, Aeolus was not a normal man. He had control over the powerful winds that moved across the world. But instead of attacking Odysseus, Aeolus decided to help him. He placed all the dangerous winds inside a sealed bag. Only one wind remained outside, the wind that would carry Odysseus safely toward Ithaca. For the first time in years, the journey home seemed possible. The ships moved quickly. The sailors could almost imagine their families waiting for them. After years of war and endless danger, home was finally within reach. But sometimes, the hardest moment comes when victory feels closest. As Odysseus slept, his exhausted crew looked at the mysterious bag. They wondered what was inside. They thought, perhaps our leader is hiding treasure from us. Maybe gold, maybe valuable gifts from the gods. Their curiosity slowly became suspicion, and finally, they opened it. The moment the bag was opened, the trapped winds escaped. The peaceful ocean transformed into chaos. Massive storms surrounded the ships. The waves pushed them away from their destination. The land they had almost reached disappeared again. After coming so close to home, they were thrown back into the unknown. For Odysseus, it was another painful reminder. The journey was not only a battle against the outside world, it was also a battle against human weakness. Eventually, the ships reached another mysterious place, an island where the landscape seemed almost impossible. Beautiful, quiet, but hiding a deadly secret, this was the home of the Sirens. According to Greek mythology, the Sirens were creatures whose voices were so beautiful that sailors could not resist them. Their songs promised everything people secretly desired: knowledge, pleasure, answers. But every sailor who followed their voices crashed their ship and died. Odysseus knew this danger was different. The Cyclops could be escaped. A storm could be survived. But temptation was something much harder to fight. So he created a strange plan. He ordered his men to fill their ears with wax so they could not hear the Sirens' voices. But Odysseus himself wanted to hear the song. He was curious. He wanted to experience something no human had survived before. So he ordered his crew to tie him tightly to the ship's mast. No matter what he said, no matter how much he begged, they could not release him. As the ship approached the island, the voices began. The Sirens sang, and their song was everything Odysseus feared and wanted. The music promised answers. It promised hidden knowledge. It promised a world beyond human understanding. Odysseus struggled against the ropes. He demanded that his crew set him free, but they continued sailing. They ignored his commands, and slowly, the voices disappeared behind them. For the first time, Odysseus defeated an enemy not with intelligence or strength, but by preparing for his own weakness before it arrived. But the sea was not finished with him. Soon after, Odysseus faced one of the most terrifying choices of his entire journey. Ahead of him were two deadly dangers. On one side was Scylla, a monster that lived above the narrow sea passage. On the other side was Charybdis, a giant whirlpool that could swallow entire ships. There was no safe path, no perfect decision. To survive, Odysseus had to choose the lesser disaster. He guided the ship through the narrow passage, and as they passed, Scylla attacked. Several of his men were taken from the ship. There was nothing he could do. He could only continue forward. This moment reveals something important about the Odyssey. Odysseus is often remembered as a hero who always finds a solution. But the truth is more complicated. Sometimes heroes do not win because they defeat every challenge. Sometimes they win because they continue moving even after losing something important. Eventually, after years of wandering, storms, and impossible events, Odysseus became completely alone. His ships were destroyed. His companions were gone. The great warrior who once commanded an army now had nothing. He washed onto the shore of an unknown island, and there he met Calypso, a mysterious woman who lived alone in paradise. Calypso offered him everything: food, safety, immortality. She promised that he could stay with her forever and never experience pain again. For many people, this would have been the perfect ending. No more storms, no more monsters, no more suffering. But Odysseus refused, because even paradise could become a prison. He did not want endless comfort, he wanted home. After years of searching, he finally understood something. The journey was never only about reaching Ithaca. It was about remembering why Ithaca mattered. After 10 years of wandering, 20 years after leaving his homeland, Odysseus finally returned to Ithaca. But the world he returned to was not the same. Most people believed he was dead. His palace had been taken over by powerful men who wanted to marry his wife, Penelope. They had spent years consuming his wealth, waiting for her to choose one of them. But Penelope never gave up. She created a clever plan. She told the suitors she would choose a husband after finishing a burial cloth for Odysseus's father. But every night, she secretly unraveled the work she had done during the day. For years, she delayed them, because she believed her husband might still return. And then, he did. But nobody recognized him. Odysseus returned disguised as an old beggar. He entered his own home as a stranger. He watched, he waited, and finally, when the moment came, he revealed himself. The man who had survived wars, monsters, and the wrath of gods had finally come home. His long journey was over. But thousands of years later, one question remains. Was the Odyssey only a story? Or was there something real hidden inside it? The truth is, we may never know. The world described by Homer contains many elements of mythology. There is no evidence that Odysseus himself existed exactly as the story describes. But many parts of the journey reflect the real experiences of ancient sailors. The Mediterranean was dangerous. Ships could disappear without warning. Unknown islands could appear through the fog. Ancient explorers often returned with stories of strange creatures and impossible lands. Some researchers believe that certain creatures in Greek mythology may have been inspired by real discoveries. For example, the Cyclops may have been connected to ancient elephant fossils. Thousands of years ago, people sometimes discovered enormous skulls from extinct animals. The large hole in the center of the skull, which was actually where the trunk was attached, may have been misunderstood as a giant eye socket. A real discovery may have helped create a legendary monster. Other researchers have searched for possible locations mentioned in the Odyssey. Some believe certain islands and landscapes may match places around Sicily, southern Italy, or other parts of the Mediterranean. But no single answer has ever been proven, and perhaps that is why the story survived. Because the Odyssey is not remembered because we know exactly what happened. It survived because it captures something deeply human: the fear of the unknown, the desire to explore, the pain of being lost, and the hope of finding our way back. 3,000 years ago, ancient sailors looked across the endless ocean and wondered what existed beyond the horizon. They created gods and monsters to explain a world they could not understand. But underneath all those legends was a simple human story: a person leaving home, a person facing the impossible, and a person trying to return to the place where they belonged. Maybe every generation has its own Odyssey, not a journey across dangerous seas, but a journey through uncertainty, mistakes, and change. Because sometimes, the greatest adventure is not discovering a new world, it is finding your way back to yourself. And that is why, after 3,000 years, the story of Odysseus is still alive.